Thank you, Alison. Delighted to be here and such a room of amazing people. So thank you. Thank you for coming. And this is what we're here for, Susannah and I, to launch this guidance. You will have a copy of the one on the right in your packs, and you will be able to see the document on the left online. So please take a look. We are really proud of it. We know that it's not going to smash the patriarchy. Not yet. But it will help us, while we're doing that, it will help us tackle the things that prevent women and girls from having safe and equal access to parks. So please read it, and share it widely. The important work starts now. The story of this document started when I met Susannah and Imogen, must be over a year ago now. And so I'm delighted to be standing with her here today.
And we're very happy to be part of this, as we've been described earlier on. We are the Kevin Bacon of women and girls' safety. Kind of everyone. I'm going with the Kevin Bacon. But also, because I just want to say something very quickly. Somebody said on social media today, we shouldn't be doing guidance, we should be smashing the patriarchy. Actually, this is, on a small scale, we are smashing the patriarchy. That's what the design of parks is. It's just not thinking about women and girls. So I don't think we necessarily have to oppose the two, because just in case somebody comes up to you on social media and says that. We're really, really pleased to be part of this, because as Imogen said earlier, safety is one of the key barriers that stops girls and obviously women from using parks. So we're so pleased to have been involved in this guidance as something that is going to make a real and concrete difference to the way parks are designed and managed.
Okay, so the foundation of the guidance is this research that you've heard all about from Anna this morning, but it was informed by the findings of wider academic research as well, some of the things that you've heard about this morning as well, and also from public safety and gender inclusive design guidance and information. You can find all the references for the guidance we used and the research that we used in the bibliography. With half of the steering group, it was myself, Susannah, Carl from Keep Britain Tidy, who's here, and Paul, who's too long from him, from Keep Britain Tidy as well, and also Anna herself from the University of Leeds, who have been working for about 6 months on the guidance. And the funding came from Tracy Brabin, thank you very much, and also an amount from the Economic and Social Research Council, who paid for some work in kind and for this event. Okay.
So, but we didn't make it all up ourselves. Tempting though that was, we consulted with a huge number of people, some of whom are in the room, and we're incredibly grateful to everybody who fed into the guidance. Obviously, the views of park managers were really central to this, because these are the people who are going to have to implement this guidance, but we also spoke to landscape architects, to planners, to academics, we spoke to specialists in areas. We also spoke to people, friends groups who've actually been trying to do something themselves. We spoke to policing. Obviously within that there's a huge lot of opinions, not all of which necessarily follow the same alignment, so we've tried to reconcile differences of opinion where they exist, and to recognise the reality that we've all discussed about funding and about the difference in staffing and just what's realistic within parks. But what we've tried to do is to bring all of this stuff together and create something that is as accessible and makes sense. I'm not saying easy to read, because like Janice and John, that would be easy to read, but that makes sense. And obviously having the Green Flag Award on board as part of that has been crucial to creating a document that is realistic and useful in the real world. So, next slide, please. So, we started with 3 themes and 10 principles. And the 3 themes are Eyes on the Park, which is basically having people, whether they're staff or just other people in the park, is crucial to it being safe. And none of these are going to come as a great surprise to you if you were here this morning, which I assume most of you were. Awareness. This is much more about design, about how spaces can be created to to help girls feel safe. This relates to the ideas of escape and of being aware of your surroundings that Anna was talking about earlier today. Inclusion is all the stuff that has been reiterated repeatedly this morning about making women and girls feel they belong in a space, that they are engaged with how the space is created, and that everybody across a wide range of intersectional identities feel that the park is theirs and for them. So these are the 10 principles that came out of those themes. We're going to go, Helen and I are going to go through them all one by one in a minute, so I won't go read them all out because that's just a waste of time. There's obviously some overlap between all of them. You know, busyness is important as part of co-production, and you know, it all overlaps. But what we're trying to do is create a coherent sense of why the principles are there, and in a way that I hope that people can remember them, so that when people are thinking about parks, they've got a framework within which they can think about all the different things that they can do. The illustrations you've seen have been done by the illustrator Josie Brooks, who's really brought the document to life, which again is making it part of something that we hope people will want to read and want to refer to and won't bore people by the time they're halfway through it. So, back over to Helen. What are these principles?
Okay, number 1, busyness and activation. The presence of other people in parks makes women feel safer. This came through particularly strongly in the West Yorkshire research. Women and girls felt particularly safe around other women and girls, as we've talked about this morning, but would also schedule visits when they know the park was generally busy with other people, like Park Run. So how can we get more people into parks? How can we bring people into parks? Well, you can build things that you know women and girls want. So things like facilities, cafes, outdoor gyms, circular running tracks have all been shown to be popular with women. They need to have good sight lines around them, and they need to be open at regular times so that women know when to find them. Seating, we've talked about social seating this morning, which allows people to face each other and which can be seen but isn't too prominent. There's that whole thing of women and girls feeling, especially teenage girls, feeling judged. And active travel. Encourage people to cut through the park on foot or by bike by linking key destinations outside the park. And you can organise events and activities. You can actually bring people into park that way by having activities for women, which should be in a space which is easy to find and accessible for all, and just general activations, which could include bringing businesses and schools to a park. Things that don't normally happen in parks, you can bring them into the park. Number 2, staffing and authority figures. So park staff and other presences, such as the police, are important in creating a safe space. However, there are differences between how women and girls perceive authority figures in a park. In our research, women generally approved of the presence of park staff, police and other security staff, and it made them feel better, but not all the teenage girls agreed. For them, female park staff and officers were preferable. Staff management obviously is costly, we have talked about that, but there are ways that you can make the most of what you've got. For instance, by having park staff in recognisable uniforms, by working towards a good gender balance in staffing, providing active bystander training, and publicising where to get help and times when the park is staffed so women can make those choices that they need to make. And technologicalised, by which we mean CCTV and help points, something which came through really strongly as something that women wanted. They felt that it would make them feel safer, although the jury's out on whether it actually does, but if they feel safer, they may go there. So, and women and girls also prefer actual people to machines to help them, CCTV and lighting and cameras. Number 3, visibility and openness. The ability to see around for a good distance and be seen by others. As women, we know we do this, we've always done it. These are crucial for a park to feel safe. Women and girls disliked areas which were hidden from view and those with thick vegetation, particularly where it obscured key lines of sight. The simplest way to increase visibility is by managing vegetation along main paths and in core areas. Tree canopies should be above head height and below sort of crouching height. Plant them back from the main paths and maintain them regularly. And for facilities that are provided in the park, their approaches and entrances need to be visible from a wide area, and they should be located close to main routes. And you can use landscaping, like including open and higher areas and avoiding sharp corners that you can't see around. Number 4, escape. How easy would it be to escape from a potentially threatening situation? This is something that women and girls routinely evaluate in deciding whether a park feels safe. It's sad, but true. High fencing, hedges, locked gates and enclosed areas all make escape difficult. And so some of the things to focus on are perimeters and entrances. Teenage girls feel safer at the edge of the park, where the edge is more open and accessible. This can be a problem in some parks, heritage parks where railings predominate, but where possible, it's good to create new openings if possible. Paths obviously should never lead to a dead end. Facilities like Mugas, multi-use games areas should be opened up wherever possible with one low wall and wide multiple exits. And the park layout itself, changes of level or low walls can be used to delineate different spaces rather than high barriers which make women and girls feel unsafe. I forgot what number I'm up to. I think it might be 5. No, it's 4, lighting. So this is still within the awareness category. So after dark, we've heard parks do not feel good for women and girls. There are fewer people around, and it's not possible to see them as easily. It may also attract different users and uses to a park, and lighting can help address all of those. So that's why it wasn't surprising that it was really high on the list of things women wanted to see in the research. And you've heard that this morning. But lighting is technical, and it is complex, it's expensive, it has a carbon footprint, and it affects wildlife. So it's really tricky. We recommend seeking expert advice from lighting designers and ecologists. But some rules of thumb are brighter does not always mean safer. So bright, pooled lights can cause glare, which is disorientating and can prevent people being able to see a good distance around them. Lighting should allow people walking to see the faces of those approaching and a clear route forward. Colour and tone are important. Warm lighting can feel welcoming and is also better for wildlife in many cases. So we think that with lighting, we just need to be careful and choose where to install it really carefully. I was thinking this morning as I walked across Woodhouse Moor that might be a case for good lighting because it's so well trafficked. It links 2 key places. There might be a really good argument for lighting one of those key routes through the park, if it isn't already. Wayfinding and layout. So women feel safer when they know where they are and how to get to their destination. Each destination, by intuitive wayfinding, I mean each destination visible from the last. A clear hierarchy of paths is important, with the most important ones connecting between walking routes and travel options outside the park. And signage can help by indicating where the key routes are. In terms of layout, breaking up spaces is important. Whether it's a whole park or one facility, this is especially important for teenage girls. This is because we wrote this and rewrote it and rewrote it. That's because multiple spaces give opportunities for different groups of people without women and girls feeling and being pushed out of them. We mentioned nature this morning and variety. So in designing safer parks, we don't want to design boring parks. Busyness is important, as we discussed. To create busyness, we need more people. We need to build things that attract more people, more women. Variety in landscaping, it attracts women. Women and girls find the presence of nature in a space more of attraction than men do. So it's really important. One of the most important things. Let's make a beautiful park as well as a safe one. Belonging and familiarity. Down to you.
I'm actually going to go back. Yeah, when we do work with teenage girls, I sort of wanted to say this, but I wasn't on the panel. When we do work with teenage girls, we get them to collage what they want from their ideal park, and there is so much nature in it. They really do want nature. It's not, and what we so often provide for teenagers is tarmac or a shelter just in a flat area of green. They want that variety. They want flowering trees. They want wildflower meadows. That's what they like. And my final the thing about different spaces is so crucial to making places more inclusive. We'll come onto that in a minute. But it's if people just did one thing different, that would be something that we'd be really pro. So, but feeling that you belong in a space and that it's familiar is a really important part of it feeling safe for women and girls. Belonging means you feel welcome, but if you know the park, you also know where you can go and you know whether it's safe or not, and you know where the exits are. Really basic things like that. Shall I dare? Oh, God, I've probably done that wrong, haven't I? Yes, I have. Sorry. Belonging, Anna touched on this, it's about seeing people like you in the park. So if you see somebody else who feels like you know that you belong. But there are still things we can do with design to do that, particularly for teenage girls. Providing something that tells them that they are welcome is really important. I know we've been a bit down on moogers and skate parks, but what they do very well for teenage boys is tell them that it's okay to be a teenage boy here. We're not going to tell you off for being there. So we need to create things for teenage girls. They tell us they want social seating, they want hammocks, they want age-appropriate swings. Naming buildings and facilities. This was touched on before again. If you call something the cricket clubhouse, it doesn't feel very welcoming for women and girls. If you call it the community hub, suddenly it's open to a lot more uses. So actually thinking about what you call things can also help with inclusion. Representation such as artwork. This is another part of co-production, so that girls and women can produce things that tell them that they belong in the park. And we'll get on to co-production fully in a minute, but yes, asking the community. And toilets are really important. They help women and girls remain in the space, and they act as that sign that you're meant to be there. So toilets are a human rights issue. Now I do this bit. So, image. How people perceive a park is really important as to how safe it feels for them. There's 4 key ways in which this can be done, some of which are straightforward, some of which, if you've got a park which has a bad reputation, are more difficult, but it can be done. Litter, this is such a basic one, but clearing away litter tells women and girls that a park is being looked after, and therefore they feel safer. This is clear both from the West Yorkshire research and from other research. Maintenance, which is just the bigger part of that. Making sure that vegetation is well maintained, that lighting and signs, all the things that are being done need to be kept up. Check that the signage is still accurate. Also, is the website up to date? Is what's on Google right? All of these things tell women and girls that this is a place that is looked after, and so by implication, there are people looking out for them. Management. Firstly, obviously your park needs to be well managed, but getting women and girls involved in the management is really crucial. Let's have a good gender balance on the park committees. Make sure it's as easy for women and girls groups to get permission to use the parks as it is for some others. This goes back to the question about football, where it has, in some places, it is harder for the women's teams to get access to book the pitches. So getting lots of nods in the corner from there. Just see if there are management changes that can make it easier for women and girls to use the park, and look at all the council policies. What do the policies say about who gets to use the park, about what kind of facilities are in the park? Do the policies say anything about safety? That's really important. Communications as well. There's all sorts of different layers to this, ranging from if there is a problem or an incident, that there's good communications around it. So you go, yes, we understand there was a problem, but we've done these things about it, so that you're reassuring women, to making sure that when you're doing, say, not that this has ever happened around me, pictures of a skate jam and a skate park, that it's not just pictures of boys. So, 2 minutes. Co-production. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Co-production engagement. Yes, we've all said this. Whatever you do, do it with women and girls at the core of what you're doing from the very beginning. Consider intersectionality. Also, there's a great, it doesn't have to be difficult, there's a great Swedish thing called safety walks, where they just walk around the park with a group of women, with the relevant managers, to point out where the problems are. We could do just gender walks. Where are we missing things for women and girls in the park? Let's do this kind of thing. As well as all of that, if you get to the next stage in the document, there's case studies. I'm not going to say very more about this because we've got living, breathing case studies for some of the rest of the afternoon. People from things we have featured in the guidance will be telling you about it, but it's really simple proof that these things can be done without it having to be complicated or difficult. It can be integrated into the day-to-day management of the park.
It also has some quick wins. So we know about the current funding landscape around parks, and we were really alive to that. So by quick, I mean achievable, low cost, as well as quick. So we hope that these will give people a good start, and they'll lead to more in-depth strategies to reform park design and management. It also contains some next steps in the guidance, and that means how to implement the guidance from the point of view of park managers, councils and council staff, design professionals, developers, etc. So please take a look at that as well. Thank you very much for listening. You can read the full guidance at the Green Flag Award on all the websites of all the steering group. So thank you very much for listening.